We've just had very big news.
Am I smiling?
Yes.
You are pleased about this result in Pennsylvania on behalf of the Democrats.
Yes, I am.
Are you surprised by it?
I am not surprised. He was never behind in the polling. And listen, Oz had huge problems. Huge problems. I mean, if you look at tonight, Donald Trump's candidates that won primaries that he picked, the only one he's got is Vance.
Yeah.
That's it. And it doesn't look like to me, based on the conversations I'm having with the campaigns on the ground, that Arizona is going to turn out the way they hoped. And frankly, the numbers in Clark County look better than they all thought they were going to look at noon today. So we are really seeing something here where I'll make a bold prediction. I think the chances are 50-50 that we will have Leader Schumer already in place when there's a runoff in Georgia in December.
You think that the Democrats will hold Nevada and hold Arizona, at which point Georgia would be gravy?
Yeah.
Georgia would be gravy. And frankly, as I said earlier, I think there's a good chance that might change the result in Georgia because of all the Republicans that were holding their nose just because they wanted Senate control.
Can I just say about the Fetterman campaign? They ran an amazing campaign. I mean, just at a technical level, they had a candidate who has a very severe stroke the day before the primary. He is recovering from said stroke in real time during one of the most watched and competitive races in the entire country in a state that's extremely narrow. Their ability to define Mehmet Oz early while their candidate was unable to campaign in person, their ability to work through and be transparent about the health problems he was recovering from, their messaging, like, it was a remarkably just at a technical level of political operativeness, it was a remarkably well-run
And
campaign.
made some bold choices to go do the debate. I mean, let's also say John Fetterman, recovering from a stroke, tenacious, focused, unstoppable through a health event that I think would have taken a lot of people out of the game.
It's an exit poll on Pennsylvania Senate voters. Is John Fetterman in good enough health to serve? 50% yes, 47% no. That's how close that was.
And
that's
to pick up on Claire's point, I mean, I think that we're also seeing a Republican Party that had a good hand in the fundamentals that we've covered all night with regard to inflation, midterm of a first-term president, the president's approval rating. That's just fundamentally a good hand. They played it badly because they gave in to Trump. They had candidate quality problems because of Donald Trump. They ran, in many ways, on extremism. I don't think we can also fully measure what it means for, shall we call them, honest, regular voters. Normies, if you will, Rachel. When a Republican Party that
Why do I get the normies reference?
Think about why. Because you're fantastic, but you have a feel for this. When, in a serious way, I say this is a serious point, this party is tied to a violent insurrection. Not all Republicans, in fairness, not all elected Republicans, but many important ones tied to minimizing or tacitly supporting the violent overthrow of the United States government. And then there is a dastardly violent attack that has now been indicted as an attempted murder on a family member of the Speaker of the House and many other prominent Republicans, some candidates on the ballot, others just in the mix, minimize, laugh about, or even seem to tacitly support that violence. So the violence is a strain. I'm careful to say not all, but the violence is a strain. I think that also figures into this closing thing. And so Pennsylvania, as Claire and others know, is a place where quasi-moderate or supposedly moderate Republicans could win statewide. Whether we want to debate how moderate they really were, that was the brand. And so if I may quote Rakim,
Please.
It ain't where you're from, it's where you're at. And where you were from 2, 4, 6 years ago, even if it was debatable, was claiming to be moderate. You cannot claim to be moderate when you are apologizing for and minimizing convicted seditionists, indicted attempted murderers, and others. So that hangs over all of this, even if we put it as precisely as possible. It ain't where you're from, it's where you're at. You're at Donald Trump and some of the insurrectionists. It didn't play well.
And by the way, where Oz is from is New Jersey. And so that's one of the other issues.
Yes,
and he's from New Jersey. But I mean, one other thing, too, is, and I'll make a much more mundane point, and I won't quote Rakim to do it because I don't really remember all the lyrics right now at the moment.
Do you remember Eric B. for president? I mean,
absolutely. Don't make me do this. I'll rap battle you right here on the set. But I'm OG. No, listen. But A more mundane point, I think we're also seeing the opportunity cost, just from a campaign perspective. I think Claire will relate to this, of giving up absentee voting just as a model of GOTV and having to count on only election day. We're seeing that in Arizona too. If you're now basically saying it's all on election day, then if it rains, if it snows, if your people get a flat tire, you're literally counting on leaving it all, and that was a Trump decision. So that's another way in which Donald Trump has altered the party in a way to make it less electable, because no campaign wants to just rely on election day, and now they have to.
And late vote. It wasn't just vote in person, it was vote as late as possible, which is the opposite of the conventional wisdom. Vote early. I mean, it's elections 101.
Remember, Democrats had a 5 million early vote lead going into this, and then the Republicans had to catch up to a 5 million early vote lead.
And to your point, for no actual upside, right? So when you talk about Trump is a sort of demographic trade where he's been much better with white voters without a college degree, but they've lost the suburbs, and does that work out? There's no upside to just telling people to just vote on election day.
There is, if you plan on mounting an assault on the counting of votes, because then you've got specific buckets of votes that you say shouldn't be counted. And that's if you think you will win
for no actual electoral
rioting,
And guys, I just don't think we should lead the conversation of Oz and Fetterman without talking about authenticity.
Yes.
John Fetterman kind of oozed authenticity. Yeah. He was who he was. He dressed how he dressed. He was comfortable in his own skin. Meanwhile, we had coups d'etats. And then, maybe the biggest sin of all, the Sunday before the election, or Saturday before the election, he makes reference to people, Oz does, in Pennsylvania. He says, go out and find 10 voters before the Steelers game tomorrow. The Steelers had a bye. They didn't even play the next day. He didn't even know the Steelers' schedule. Now, that is really political malpractice in a state like Pennsylvania.
What's weird is that green coffee beans didn't fix it.
Yeah, the magic pill in a bottle. That damn magic pill in a bottle. I've been looking for it all my adult life.
About Oprah Winfrey giving him the coup de grace at the end and saying, if I was in Pennsylvania, I'd be voting for Fetterman. So, I mean, everything was stacked against him, and you made an excellent point. He never lost. He was never down in the polls. He was up the whole time. And again, the other opportunity cost, Republicans decided they wanted to lard the polling averages with all of these little junky polls, one made by some high school kids. They're like, we're going to throw it in there because we want to psych out the Democrats. We want to make them think that they're going to lose before they even get to vote. We're going to make it look like it's a red wave. But when you say that, you've created this incredible expectation on your side. And that's why they're demoralized now, because they didn't have a realistic expectation of what this election would look like.
Will they accept it?
Yeah,
probably not.
I mean, and your point about how we're entering an interregnum period where we know basically what's happened, but we need the final results, and that may take days, and that this is a dangerous time. That's, I think, can't be stressed enough.